Hey, how's it going today? It's 4th of April, Thursday, and we are taking a look at the market, what kind of opportunities are available. In the city, let's take a look at Ministry of Defense annual reports and accounts. Uh, I have taken a look at the parliamentary hearing. That would be 2 hours hearing yesterday. Something I was taking a look at. So perhaps I had a lot of fun. It's kind of great since people do understand what they should be doing, what's happening, all these kind of good things, right? Many things are happening. It's kind of hard to explain, but for people who understand it, everything was happening. So it was 2 hours long parliamentary hearing. So once that been said, let's take a look at published annual accounts and let's delve a little bit deeper and I can offer a little bit of key takeaways and compress everything in perhaps 10 minutes or so. Some of the feedback that I could offer, right? And key areas, what I believe would be important, and some of the performance and people up there who are working have been hired to work for I know within their responsibilities are to carry out some duties, all these kind of things. These people they do understand what they're doing. With that being said, let's take a look at accounts. We're gonna be taking a look at official government's release. That would be Ministry of Defense annual reports and accounts 2022 to 2023. The annual reports and accounts consist of performance of report, accounting reports, and annual accounts providing details of defense activity undertaken during financial year from 22 to 23. Right? Perhaps it's worth mentioning. Recently, I was taking a look at some of the when we're gonna be taking a look at the accounts. Let me preface, right? What I'm interested in understanding, right? So there's a problem with no challenge that Minister of Defense would need to solve. It could be anything. Perhaps one of those would be software solutions, right? When it comes to communication, for example, this solution, there's contractors who can bid to solve this problem, right? To win this opportunity, some of the contractors can offer 4 times cheaper services, but up to the standard, and they would win the contract, right? Those contractors, right? And then it the same problem to solve the same problem, it can be 4 times cheaper for the same standard, right? So based on this formula, things can get way cheaper all the time, and sometimes it can get or things that can get way cheaper all the time. Okay, so when we're gonna be taking accounts, worth taking a look at how cheaper it can get, as well as something that was to give full perspective, right? Some of the threats, some of those being cybersecurity threats, right? Just to mention one of those, right? It would be completely new industry where not necessarily would be a lot of businesses knowing how to solve all of the problems, right? So that means while addressing existing problems, and those can get cheaper a lot faster, there could be additional finance needed or resources need to be made available for unplanned, so to say, quote unquote, right, the threats and how those could be addressed, including cybersecurity, right? Just to name a few areas, right? Once that been said, let's take a look at accounts. Perhaps it's worth taking a look at in more detail everything what we're gonna be covering, as well as there might be it's kind of hard to explain since it's rolling and we only taking a look at 24 months, right? To implement some of the contracts, some of the deals can be up to 4 years, right? So it's very difficult. By the way, it's very difficult. It's very hard to account for everything, entire inventory, price of that inventory, some of the partners' prices, some of the a lot. It's very hard, by the way. So so once that been said, it's very hard. Let's take a look at some of the numbers and what we're gonna be potentially taking a look at, and I'm gonna be offering a lot of feedback. There's gonna be a lot of opinions. I'm very opinionated. I guess that. And let's try to have a little bit of fun while without getting anyone in trouble, I guess. If we can, right? The contents that we performance report. It's great if you would ask me. People do understand everything what they're doing, and people who are overseeing everyone, they do understand everything when it comes to performance. So I believe everything's great. It could always be better, in particular when it comes to something that was highlighted parliamentary hearing when it comes to prolonged preparedness, right? So prolonged over than 2 months of action required, right? Over 2 months, not necessarily then the UK is not necessarily prepared, but again, I'm not giving full perspective. When it comes to Article 5 and all NATO alliance, perhaps the UK is doing great overall when it comes to that, but not necessarily on its own when it comes to prolonged military actions or war, I guess. Then UK could always do better when it comes to stockpiles, ammunition, and all expenditure in these kind of areas. So UK, based on the reports, I think we could always do better when we can take a look at some of the details, right? But people who are within those positions and they know all this kind of information, but people do know that. So I won't be saying anything new to those people. So quickly, that would be content. And if anything, I would like to highlight. I don't know how many engineering staff currently is available. If it's 10,000 only, I would highly recommend to increase to 50,000. So that's the 5 times increase engineering staff. I don't know if that's an area that Minister of Defense is currently looking at, but if you would ask me, it's something worth concerning, as well as some of the contracts and how some of those contracts have been given to your partners, not necessarily developing their own engineers capabilities, where some of those manufacturing parts or subcontractors would be only 10% of the contracts within UK, only 10%. 90% would be outsourced to overseas, so to say. So I would highly recommend to reconsider this entire structure, where it would be perhaps 10% overseas and 90% within UK, and instead of 10,000 engineers, it would be 50,000 engineers. That would be way better formula. Once that's been said, let's take a look at the entire report. We can take a look at some of the achievements, right? I'm still trying to understand it or catch up with everything that's happening since uh, it would be very important and sums of money would be massive. So it's perhaps worth taking a look at some of the sums and we take a look at our UK is exceeding NATO's target when it comes to 2%. And they might consider increasing from 2 to perhaps 2.5%. Perhaps if they would be taking a look at formula that I have mentioned when it comes to sourcing from UK, with the UK's engineers from 10% moving to 90%, perhaps 2.5 would make way more sense. With that being said, let's take a look at other achievements. That would be AUKUS deal, which is great. Global Combat Air Program. That's time frame. We're taking a look at 10 years. I have some doubts since it's piloted, so a person needs to sit in a cabin, which I'm not necessarily agree with unless UK are gonna begin selling those jets. So those jets would be built within time frame of 10 years. Capabilities would include communication, supersonic data speed, as well as there was another thing, I think camouflage is something that they were considering implementing for those jets, but it would be piloted with a person, which I disagree with, but that perhaps would be to sell those jets to other governments, right? So perhaps that would be something there if Japan won't pull out of the deal. Because Japan is neutral, right? So Japan is not buying and not selling any arms as of now. But either way, International Fund for Ukraine, which is kind of great. It's something that was highlighted in parliamentary hearing when it comes to taking part in a group of nations and offering these opportunities right from let's progress to 2.3 billion for support, and which is great. But I think its numbers might be slightly higher, but either way, the UK remains the only European ally to provide the full spectrum of capabilities to NATO, which is great. We have expected, okay, so that's a budget for around childcare. Okay, that's great. And it's something I was taking a look at yesterday. There's different programs for people who are interested in, depending on the kid's age, right? So it was from 2 year old up to 4 year old, and from there was different programs available up to I think it was 11 year old. It's something I was taking a look at. The potential incentives where the would be 80% of what you would spend. It would be matched with 20% of government funding, as well as depending what and how much of support you might be interested or looking for. There might be 70% where government want to match with 30%, but it depends. There's a lot of programs available from the Typhoon program continues to support more than 20,000 jobs throughout the UK. I need to take a look at. I don't know who's contractor for this Typhoon program, but either way, as I mentioned, UK should produce its own. But either way, fifth as the submarines, which is kind of great, I guess. It depends of. It's great, I guess, and we take a look at the raft and our industrial partners carry out world first 100% sustainable fuel flight. I don't think UK is producing any fuel. I don't think UK. I think UK is purchasing everything from other partners again. So we're not producing unless it's something new. But we're taking a look at the accounts for 2022 to 23. Now UK is not producing; it's purchasing. Perhaps it's been highlighted recently, but UK should produce its own fuel, but it's not producing as of now. What this is all about, let's take a look at where the money is being spent right now, right? That would be total expenditure. We're taking a look at 52.8 billion for time frame. We're taking a look at 22-23. 52.8 billion. And you can see on the screen side capital expenditure. Then we're taking a look at 18.2 billion. Service personnel at 10.6 billion. Equipment support 7.8 billion. For that amount of money, people can buy a lot of interesting things. What's liquidity or headspace we're talking about? Either way. So that's a lot. That's a lot of money. That's what I'm saying. For people who are interested, perhaps that's a good time frame to take a look at. So this year has been already been accounted for. Everything what's happening in the world and all these kind of things, right? Quick note, I won't be delving deeper into this. I will just highlight the fact, or quick note, right, when it comes to 155 millimeter shells, right? As of now, quick feedback, right? So some pushback, right? So procurement on all the systems that they currently have in place, it's very disappointing. If people are interested in taking part in achieving or offering the services and or reducing the cost of manufacturing, try reaching out to, and who you should reach out to. There isn't a person. There are some people who have put all this thing together, and if you were interested in engineering and offering some of the services, try to reach out to some of those departments. Nobody would even talk with you. Since even the 155 millimeter shells, some of those contracts, and or people not interested and people who can do it, they perhaps raising the prices, or with the business again, right? Perhaps only 5 people can do it, or perhaps less than 5 companies. And in this case, Ministry of Defense only talking with 5 people. And then once that been said, so only 5 people as of now doing it. Minister of Defense only talking with 5 people. And now let's take a look at the budget. 52.8 billion and where the money is going. And as of now, I don't think anyone will begin increasing production within UK. They knew that perhaps 8 years ago. Perhaps longer than that. That's a note, or any takeaways, right? And we take a look at 52.8 and where the money is going to and who makes most of that money, right? Thanks for watching. See you next one.